You would call him a professional, such as Brady.
At the strategy stage, I think, because really for the long term, you want the client to manage that voice themselves. They're the voice of the organisation. They're in there. They know what's happening. So you kind of have to set them free. So consultants are good for the strategy stage, and for the long term, I guess communication strategy, holding hands, helping you out of some of the issues, and you know, if you're very unlucky, a crisis that comes up.
Any more questions? We've got one argument.
What are your thoughts from a corporate perspective of leaving, how long you actually leave the negative comment up and post it for? There's obviously two trains of thought. If it's, some people will just take it straight down without when they use leave.
Depends entirely on a whole set of circumstances, including how risk averse the company is, how sensitive the CEO or the CFO is, and you know, whether someone is prepared to actually leave the negative comment up there and address it. Because one of the things about social media that's proven itself very good is if you take something down, people will call you out on it. And they'll say, well, why didn't you take it down? Aren't you big enough and strong enough, you sooty lala, to actually take negative comments about yourself? And so, you know, negative comments, as we all know from Sales 101, if you get a negative comment about yourself, that's an objection. You can turn an objection around and turn that into a sale. So, you know, the advice I would, unless it's something derogatory, I work with the RSPCA in South Australia on their website and on their blog room, and we had a disclaimer to say that, you know, if you're going to leave a comment, then be aware this is a family-friendly site. If you put anything that's, you know, defamatory or, you know, libelous or slanderous, then we reserve the right to edit it and or delete it. And if you continue with a particular post and ranting and everything, we respect your opinion. But if you keep saying the same things and you're not adding to the conversation, we reserve the right to edit it or delete it. You know, but at least you're allowing the conversation to happen. If you just delete stuff, right, and give no notice as to why you deleted it, then you're opening yourself up to all sort of criticism about not being big enough and manly enough to take criticism on the chin.
I think there's a few things in that depending on the circumstances. Part of so depends on a specific instance, because the story could easily become the fact that you deleted the comment rather than the comment in the first place. Because if somebody posts a comment and they immediately take a screen capture of it and they've got it sitting there, then they can, you know, they put that out to the world afterwards. Part of what we do is 24/7 moderation of, so when it's a forum environment, it's a bit different than where you have a Facebook page where it's just people posting comments directly to you. In a forum environment where you're actually asking people questions about a particular policy or something you're planning to do, then you need to have really, really clear rules, and you need to have that really tightly managed. And I think that taking stuff down that shouldn't be there is actually a responsibility, because otherwise those spaces can get out of control and they stop the broader community from getting involved in the conversation. So it depends on what the particular context is, I guess. If somebody's just going on and saying something that's a little bit nasty about you, and then you would always try to address that. But if somebody's going into your space and they're being really defamatory, or they're using horrendous language, or they're being a troll, or they're doing all sorts of that sort of nasty stuff, then you have to manage that space really, really rigorously and robustly. You have to have a really clear set of rules to make sure that you've got something to fall back upon when they threaten to sue you for taking their comment off, which happens to us every now and then. So you need to have that stability.
Sorry, we've just got another question down here first.
It's becoming more aware that social media is forcing honesty back into brands and clients and personal people, and particular brands are becoming more and more afraid of entering social media realms because of that negative feedback. Should you not then be supporting your brand in listening for that negative feedback and engaging in that, and then over the course of time turning that into positive feedback because of that engagement?
Yes, you should. The challenge is how strong a will has your CEO or CFO? How strong is their stomach? And how long is the board prepared to, you know, to wither the criticism?
That's part of the question at the outset, though, is cultural characteristics of an organisation. So if you're suggesting a strategy into an organisation to get involved in social media and to actually engage through it, then you have to do some tilling of the soil first to make sure the organisation is culturally prepared and ready to actually engage in that space. And then of course also have your risk management plans in place for when somebody does do something, so that everybody doesn't just panic and then pull the pin on the whole thing, which is the worst thing that could possibly happen. And it's what private sector organisations do, but also public sector organisations in particularly are doing.
And that's when social media's value as a research tool comes in as well. It's market research tools, your focus group, and granted it's all published, but you're hearing these things. You might not normally hear or even know that people are saying about your organisation.
Just one more question, John. Last one.
I just wanted to know your thoughts on building fans and followers versus building interaction. Which do you think is more important, fan numbers or the interaction that they have with you?
Interaction's great. It's hard to get.
It depends on what you're trying to achieve. I have a little presentation on SlideShare called the 99-1 principle, and it's about that rule of thumb that, you know, for every 100 followers you might get, probably only 1% of them are really highly interactive with you, and it's just normal. You just have to, like, we all kind of beat ourselves up about it when you don't have a lot of interaction in this space, but it's perfectly normal. And if I was running my previous life a community meeting with this many people in a room, then I would expect maybe 10 or 15 people to dominate the conversation and the rest of the people in the room to be focusing on their breakfast, or to be nodding and shaking their head in agreement or disagreement. But it's inevitable that only a few people will be passionate enough to get really heavily engaged with you.
Do you think you should encourage that?
It depends on what your objective is. It really depends on what your objective is, and at the outset. So, for example, if you're doing, I keep coming back to government because that's what I do. So, if you're a government agency and you have spent 12 months preparing a policy, and you think it's really good, and you think you've done a lot of listening, and you think you've engaged your community really well, and then you're putting it out there to test the waters to see whether people like what you're proposing to do, then what you're actually looking for is a lot of people to go and have a look at the proposition, a lot of people to download it, a lot of people to take it home. But if you get a rush, a glut of comments about it, then you've actually probably failed in your earlier attempts at engagement because you haven't done enough listening, so it's actually a negative indicator. Whereas if you're at the start of the policy development process, where you're actually looking for people's contributions, their values, their ideas, those sorts of things, then you want a lot of engagement because you want a lot of research content to put into the policy development process in the first place. So it really depends on where you're at in your cycle and what you're trying to achieve.